Good time of day to all you my chess friends here on the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Alex Yermolinsky. Right, welcome back to what every Russian schoolboy knows live. My regular bi-weekly show. Usually, of course, I'm all into this current chess events and in a way, there is a danger of this whole thing becoming one never-ending blur of chess games between Caruana and Nakamura and Carlsen, and particularly the way everything's set up. And that's why I wanted the show to be different. That's why I wanted you guys to help me drag myself out of that usual pattern, kicking and screaming, whatever I might, into something different, something unique. No, different. Okay, let's leave it at different. So the idea is for me, to follow you rather than come up with this prepared material and all these preconceived notions. The sound is not good. Okay. Why is that? I see. Okay, let me try to do something here. Hang on a second. Okay, I changed the microphone. It was for some reason set on a different microphone. I hope it's better. You guys have to follow and tell me if the quality of sound is acceptable now. Okay, yeah. So the thing is, that to make the show interactive. So rather than lead you somewhere, which you are led, daily by other people who work here on the Internet Chess Club and work in those broadcasts and making game of the day videos and all that. Hello? Hello? No. Uh, just a bit low. Okay. Um, let me see what I can do about all this. Okay. Okay. Audio. Okay, perhaps I should try to speak a little louder or maybe lean over the microphone better. I really don't know how to otherwise improve the quality of this. Okay. Hello. Okay. One more try. Yeah. Anyway, what I'm thinking that I should respond to you, and first request that came through the forum are all about the same thing. It's a very general subject, not really as specific as I would like to. But the subject is how to improve in chess. One of the guys writes this way. He says, okay, so, we're 1600 now, maybe from 1600 to 2000. We no longer blunder pieces left and right. Where do we go from here? It's a pretty tough question, right? Now, I will try to answer the best of my ability, and obviously, given any kind of general advice that would suit, all the players who find themselves in the same situation as those two gentlemen who uh, who wrote about it. It's very difficult to do. But let me try to first let me try to break it to parts. Okay, maybe the range of rating given there, 1600 to 2000, is just too big. You know what the 1600 or 1700 need to do is obviously has to be different from what a 2000 player has to do. But I agree, of course, that the common thing there is, all right, you guys stopped blundering. Well, that's a big step, right? You stop blundering. All right, so the game's no, well, I mean, the outcome of the game is no longer random. Well, blunders obviously make everything so random that it would be silly to try to improve your understanding of, say, a dark square complex weakness when you or your opponent are very likely to blunder a piece in within next 2 or 3 moves. Well, that's understandable, but okay, we you went by it already. You passed that point, and you're not coming back. Okay, it's good to know. Okay, for so that alone makes you a 1600 player. This is where I draw a line and I say, okay, if you wanna, if you claim to be a 1600 player, then you have to drastically reduce number of blunders in your game. Now, by blunders, I mean something really atrocious. I really never understood the concept of a positional blunder. To me, it's oxymoron. It just blunder to me is always an oversight. Now, I know we can look at this differently, and some people think that blunder is just a heavy error. Okay, well, to me it has to be oversight. So let's use the word oversight. So stop making those oversights. See things when it comes to major. Major stuff is, of course, losing pawns and pieces or blundering into back rank checkmate. All right, so we got that down pat. Now what? Strangely, I don't think there is a time for you, as you rated 1600 or 1700, is to do any kind of particular isolated studying of one chess subject to another. Well, you follow what's there, you follow where your fancy takes you. If you feel like looking at games of Anatoly Karpov, pick up that book off a shelf and go through the games of Karpov. Now, if suddenly you're curious, maybe I should take up the Benko, and there is a series of videos by John Watson, for example. By all means, go ahead and watch those videos. Now, if you feel like doing some kind of tactics trainer somewhere online, and you just, I don't know, you set this goal, to reach whatever, 2200 on the tactics trainer, then you by all means do this. It almost doesn't matter what you do, as long as you stay with the game, because one thing is common for 1600 players until they reach 1800. Well, they're simply not natural in the chess environment yet. They made a big step, but mainly and more often through tremendous effort of willpower to stop blundering. But well, they have to keep this kind of unnatural focus and concentration to avoid blunders, and that holds them back, and they simply cannot get to the next step. Probably the most important thing at this moment for you is to relax and just think about, okay, great, so I'm there, I'm a chess player now. I mean, nobody can expect me to lose in 10 moves. Well, let me just enjoy chess. Now, obviously, playing is very important, and then comes this part of studying your games. Let me show you a game I played against 1759, some 10 years ago. Now, this game would be an illustration of how I analyze my own games. I will stop only at most important moments. I will not go over the entire stuff. We don't have the time. And I think this could be taught by example. So I hope that my opponent, I will leave his name unmentioned, of course. Would be nice, would be very useful for my opponent if he did the same job I did. Obviously, no, independently from me. Okay, so I was white, and the game opened with okay, 1 second. Something is wrong here. Okay. All right. 1 second. I have to restart something here. Okay. Um, oh, you can see the name. Okay. So it came back. So now you can see the names of the players. All right. Okay. At least I didn't mention it. You just stole a look at that. Okay. Anyway, here we go. Now the Chigorin defense. I obviously didn't ask my opponent, if he always plays the Chigorin, This is not a mainstream opening, although this opening has the right to exist. It was proven time and again by some players, including yours truly. No, I did play it a few times, but of course Morozevich should be mentioned first as the true successor, heir to Chigorin's fame. Okay, now this line and the capture bishop takes c3 was, I don't know if it was invented, but it was developed by my friend Grandmaster Svatatovic, and I used it prior to this game quite a few times already for 5 or 6 years, including one important game I won against Grandmaster Ben Feingold, the World Open, some maybe 5 years prior to that game. The game was played in 2005. Now, first thing there, knight e7. You know what? I really find no reason for black to play this move. And I was wondering during the game, and I'm wondering now, why would black give up a pawn on e5? And as I recall, and as I wrote in my notes, my opponent played this move very quickly. I think he simply didn't pay attention in this position. He simply didn't pay attention. He thought I made a conventional recapture, pawn takes, which is the main line theory. And then, fine, you play knight e7, and it's a game. Alright, so that proves the point to me that I made recently, that no oversight like this is simply not seeing that the move that was played on the board. It's the sign of still not being entirely comfortable with the game of chess, maybe due to lack of practice, insufficient time spent with the chessboard. You see, when you do chess all the time, obviously I'm asking a lot from you, that's when you don't even notice a lot of things that you do right. I mean, the opponent plays a move and you don't have to say to yourself, bishop takes c3. You just write it down, and instantly, the position changed in your mind. And I mean, you can play blindfolded and all that. Here, I think, what happened in this situation, that it just simply didn't notice what I played and quickly played his next move. Now, white wins a pawn. Alright, do you expect this game to be over? No, I'm this big time grandmaster, whatever. And my opponent is 1759. The rating difference alone is 800 points, and white is up a pawn. When you analyze your games, that's when you give yourself a chance to forget about all this. Now, it's not you with the black pieces against this big, burly, whatever, scary looking Russian guy. No, it's just white pieces and black pieces. Sometimes we need to do this. We need to simply take our minds away, from all this stuff, that's an extra stuff. Your ratings, your tournament situation, the opponent's rating, whatnot. No, it's just the pieces. Remember, Svetozar Gligoric, the famous Yugoslav grandmaster, uh, wrote a book of his life and best chess games, and he titled it Play Against the Pieces. Now, one may argue that it didn't help him to reach the very heights. He was a candidate and quite a few times throughout the 1950s and the 60s, but no, never came close to playing a world championship match. But no, well, whatever. A lot of people didn't. But I appreciate that, and that I think this is what you need to do. Forget about who plays white, who plays black. Let's look at this position objectively. I always like to do this, and this is what I wrote. So knight f3, knight d5. Now, question. Should this be allowed? Knight takes c3. Should white allow black to split his pawns like that? My answer was no. Looking at this, I can see that black is about to attack the a pawn after the trade of the bishops, and all in all, the knight on c4 is going to be super powerful, obviously hitting there and preventing a foreign account of knight takes c3. And yeah, so I didn't like it. So therefore I played the move rook c1. It's very difficult this moment after this great initial success in the game to kind of focus fully and really try to find the best moves. Probably the best move was bishop d4. The idea is, of course, to keep the e5 pawn as secure as possible. In many cases, white is happy to take back on d4 with the e pawn, and even if the extra d pawn is going to be backward and it's hard to move, still the material advantage will be preserved. Okay, let's move on quicker. Rook c1, there, bishop b5, and I think I totally missed this move, bishop d7. What a timely retreat. Now, look at the bishops opposing each other. So who's the 2600 grandmaster now? Black is threatening to play knight takes e5, using the bishops hitting each other. It'll work, even without the capture on c3 first. You can do it right away. Now, what to do here? Now, if white pulls the bishop back, then it's little too early for black to take the bishop and then take the pawn on e5. Perhaps he should play this move. Well, knight takes c3 is a threat, then winning back the pawn and equalizing easily. And if bishop takes d4, then it's somewhat different situation, because black's clearly making some trouble here, hitting the pawn on g2, and establishing a great bishop on the diagonal and playing f6. He may still be down a pawn, but the compensation is obvious, and I doubt that white is going to be able to even keep that extra pawn for long. Well, oops. Capture on c6. Now, I wonder, from black's point of view, obviously you should be happy, right? Well, after the terrible blunder out of the opening, you managed to stabilize the situation. Now you have the opposite cover bishop star on the board. Okay, we'll play a few moves. Now that's preparation for capturing everything and winning the pawn back on e5. Very good play. h6, necessary. Look at this. You capture, and you capture, you capture. He's gonna go rook take, you take back, and then there is rook d8 mate. Alright. What variations should you look first in your home analysis? The variations that you saw during the game. That's why it's essentially important to enter a game into a chess base, into your favorite my best games, my games, whatever name you give it, future world champion games. Enter those moves, enter those games right away, and do not forget to add some variations that you saw during the game. Don't bother checking them with the computer yet. That part will come much later. Right now, you just need to dump all the stuff over there, for the future work. Because you're not going to be able to do proper work analyzing your game during the tournament. You have to rest and prepare for the next game. But for starters, you've got to put everything there in your chess base. Because right or wrong, some of these moves may even be illegal. Then you write a note. Here I thought I would go rook to h1, but it's illegal. Okay, any information is very valuable. No information should be lost. Oh, hello guys. You should be following me now. Okay, I'm talking about chess improvement. Okay, I have some issues there with the audio. Can you hear me well? Alright, I'll try to speak more distinctly. I don't know why, that I don't get the kind of sound, Oops. Yeah. Don't get the kind of sound I usually get. Alright. Anyway. Yeah, so black here plays h6. This is my game against we're talking about chess improvement. And the first stage for B players, that's 16 to 1800. Now, very important for them is to get into a habit of analyzing their games. Now, the random factor of whatever happens in the game is going to be analyzed, be it the opening, the middle game, tactical slugfest, or the long technical endgame. It's actually beneficial because one thing that these guys should avoid, and I repeat myself, they should avoid compartmentalizing things too much, or they're simply not fluent in the chess language, if you wish, or they're not natural swimmers in the river of chess moves, ideas, and variations. And their attempt to use some kind of mechanical contraptions to substitute for the lack of natural ability are going to be counterproductive. It's almost regardless of your age, and you will still improve your natural ability by simply letting the game embrace you. I don't know how to put it, engulf you. Now, so do whatever, and the random nature of your games that you play is going to provide you with the perfect playground for reaching those goals. The sound level is very low. Okay, hang on a second, I'm gonna look at this whole thing. I broadcast all the time, but every time I broadcast on this YouTube channel, the normal controls that I have, somehow is not there, So let me take another look. Okay, go to general settings. Okay. volume range percentage. Hello? No. That made it worse, right? No, I'm not sure. Okay. I feel like I'm wasting my time with all this. But how about this? Hello? Hello? Is this any better? Um, I think it's all the same. Oh yeah. I cannot boost up the volume, There's nothing I can do about it. Maybe alright, let's I mean, would you like me to make a little break here, so maybe but, still a bit low. Huh. Hello? Yeah, this doesn't do anything. Okay, so this opens audio settings again. Ta-dum. All right, fine. Let's keep on going because otherwise this whole thing will be wasted for trying to get around some technical problem. All right, so well, this position, that from a point of view of a player with the black pieces, no, he accomplished a lot, particularly since the opening didn't go well for him. But now, of course, the difficulty is to accept the fact that black cannot really force a draw like he was trying to do by exchanging everything and winning that pawn on a5. It's not going to happen. So black is going to have to just hold the position and for a long time without without making any counterplay attempts. Okay, this is how it went. The knight went to c4. Very nice job, by the way, sidestepping that threat of knight takes b6, right? Because the knight protects the rook. Nice. Of course, every exchange brings it closer. The ultimate goal is to get to the opposite color bishop endgame, and then black will survive. Alright, so we'll skip some old parts. c5. Now, counterplay. So after a long series of patient moves, black now seizes his chance, to push the c-pawn forward. So white's winning the pawn is not a decisive factor in the position, because that bishop is gonna dominate the white knight on a5, being the knight being unable to return to b3. You'll see it in a few moves. There you go. The knight is stuck. Cannot go anywhere except to b7. The pawn is not gonna queen that easily because white controls it with the bishop. And black's light square bishop is unable to remove the blockade from c1. But okay. Yeah, but still, black's on the right track now. We do this. once again, I mean, what can I say about my opponent's play in this game? Well, he played very well. He plays long series of very good moves, maybe best moves in the position, and matches me move to move. But every once in a while, he sleeps a cog, and makes a mistake. And the problem with chess, is that this is the kind of thing that is always gonna do you in, right? You can play 10 good moves in a row, but then on the 11th move you play a bad move, and it erases all the great work that you've done. Like in this position. Once again, quickly black plays this move trying to come to d1. It's obvious, but once again, a simple oversight. I think he simply missed this move. Because for what reason, black should put the rook on the d file when he knows that rook d6 is coming and he has to move away now. White has improved his rook because there is no way black is gonna take. Instead, he had a good move on rook c5. Because the knight is still under arrest, the pawn is hardly a factor, and why not pick off this pawn? Which could only be protected by the bishop, but not anymore on account of c1 queen. So, no rush, just grab the pawn on e5 and maybe the pawn on e4. I think black is very close to equalizing this game. Okay, all this need to be noted. Now, at what moment you let the computer, your analysis engine take over? Right after the game. Oh, I already said no to this. First you have to enter every move and also every variation that you calculated during the game. Then you should try to figure things out on your own. There always has to be an effort at least equal to an effort you made during the game before you say, okay, I give up, let's see what the computer says. Meaning, if in the real game you spend 5 minutes on move rook d8, and then white played rook d6 and you're like, oh boy, I missed it. Alright, then you have to spend 5 minutes staring at that position without asking the computer what to do until you find rook c5. Oh, people, I don't know what to do. Well, this is, ever since, we went to this YouTube thing, like, this is the problem. As I said, I broadcast all the time. I simply cannot do anything with the volume. There is no magic thing there for me to turn to make it louder. I can't. I'm sitting right over this microphone that I use on a daily basis, and that's the maximum volume I can squeeze out of this. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's hard. Well, obviously it is, but that's the no pain, no gain, right? So that's the thing, that when somebody, be it your coach or your older brother, who happens to be a 2700 grandmaster, or I don't know, somebody just tells you, all right, don't worry about it. You played very well. Now you only needed to play this little move rook e5, and you would have drawn this scary Russian grandmaster. Nah, it's not going to be useful. It may give you some kind of satisfaction. A lot of people say, hey, I had a good game. The computer shows that I had this. I mean, it had nothing to do with anything. It's like, okay, you can play 10 moves of theory. Then on the 11th move you can blunder a piece, and then you come home, turn on the computer, and it shows that you were good after 10 moves. Yeah, because Anand played it 5 times. You don't even have to ask your stockfish what to play here or whatever. You just look in the databases and, hey, I'm a great player, I had a great game. Anand had it 5 times on the board. It's just not gonna cut it. It's not gonna help you to get closer to a level of Anand. Yeah, that's where it went wrong. And okay, now the one last moment about this game. Now you're unhappy, obviously. Now this is totally bad, right? Now white maintains the 2 extra pawns. It's so hard to get to this bishop on c1 because you need to like keep your bishop protecting the c2 pawn before you go rook b1. The black king is out of play and white can make the e passer. It's lost. But good effort here, and this position was reached. All right, let's see how the game ended. Black played rook g1. He has to get something, right? Because he cannot queen the pawn. And now he's got 2 pawns for it. However, white played this move, rook a7. And now, as black went for this race with his h pawn, he loses it. White queens first and wins the game easily. Okay, he played some different moves but resigned 2 moves later. Okay, now, let's see, let's go back to the starting position. Now, you should teach yourself do things like this during the game. Well, when you work out one variation and you see a pattern developing, and it's not satisfying and you have to improve it, try to look at this, try to make little adjustments. You think, okay, I get these 2 pawns, right? g2 and h2, and then we get into the pawn race, which I lose by 1 move. Why? Because my rook was in the way of my h pawn. And this is how you come across this. It's the same thing. You're gonna do the same thing, it doesn't matter. But what's gonna happen is that the h pawn is gonna be much faster. Now, I mean, white shouldn't be doing this. He queens first, but ironically, he has no checks. In positions like this, when you cannot start checking, then the turn is gonna go to your opponent, and it's black who's most likely gonna checkmate white. Amazing, right? So, my opponent didn't notice it during the game, but well, that thing could be discovered during analysis, because sometimes, even if the position itself is irrelevant, obviously this position doesn't have any theoretical importance. It's not like this will ever happen again in any game of yours or anyone else's. But the pattern you discern, you may memorize. Says, okay, I really lost this game without a chance because I couldn't improve on the position on my rook. I saw the line where I take 2 of the white pawns, j and h, and send my h pawn forward, but I did it the wrong way. So next time, I won't be in such a hurry. Well, yeah, looks easy. Here you take with check and then take on h2. But in reality, there is no difference. One way or another, you're gonna take that with check. You don't lose any time. You only gain with the better position of the rook. Alright, so that was the game. Maybe not the best example, but I needed to give you one. Just a random game, that should be analyzed on all stages. Okay, say you. I've been doing this already for 2 years, or 3 years, or 5 years. Yeah. I got my rating up to 1850, and I'm stuck over there. I analyze my games, I get frustrated, I always make mistakes, and the computer shows the mistakes, so I find mistakes, immediately after find where I made my mistakes immediately after the opponent plays his reply, but I mean, like, I need something specific. Enough of your general advice. Alright, what is that specific an 1800 player needs to do in order to become a 2000 player? He needs to develop a chess identity. What I mean by that, there is no room anymore for drifting and trying this and experimenting. Okay, you're out of college now, so you put on your suit and tie, and now you're a man now with a job and mortgage and responsibilities and all that. All right, now how do we get our act together? It all starts with selecting openings, creating your opening repertoire. Now, I specifically do not advise this work to be done earlier when you're 1400 and you blunder left and right. That's what you need to go to get over that first. And I don't recommend it for 1600 players. The efforts will be misdirected if they spend a lot of time studying the openings. But at 1800 level, time comes. You simply cannot hope to become an expert and make a step, to next level if you don't have a steady opening repertoire. Now, why did I use this term chess identity rather than just say, opening repertoire? No, because the selection process has to be intelligent. You don't choose to play a certain opening because you like the name. In fact, I know one guy is a good friend of mine. I won't name him, but he likes to play b4 on move 1. And when I ask him, what do you like about this? Is that a cool name, the orangutan? No, a cool name. Some people may say, I cannot play Sicilian defense. I hate Sicilians. They're all mafiosi. They're bad people. I don't play Sicilians. Come on, people, seriously. There has to be a better reason. Now, I wanna play the Najdorf because Bobby Fischer played it. Okay, it's a little bit more serious, but still, maybe what's good for Fischer may not be good for you. Yeah, Fischer may be your favorite player, but do you share certain stylistic characteristics with Bobby Fischer? You need to think about. By that, ask yourself a few questions. Do you like the fast pace of the game? Out of the gate. So the opening brings up action. Already on move 10, there are threats, checks, and you have to play precise moves. You gotta use your knowledge of precise variations. You don't? Then why you play an e4 on move 1? Let alone, why is your choice like the Austrian attack against the Pierce defense? Okay, if you like e4 and still, well, you can be an e4. It's not like every e4 player has to be a wild attacker. Karpov was an e4 player, but Karpov didn't play the Austrian attack. Go classical there against the Pierce and the modern. Put your knight on f3 and bishop on e2. Okay. How do you feel about your king being poorly protected and subject, for those threats and mating attacks? I know nobody likes it, but all things being equal, does it really make you nervous when your king is in danger? Well, it does. No, then perhaps you shouldn't be playing the Knight of Sicilian. Because there are many variations over there where your king comes under direct attack. Maybe you should switch to the Caracan or the French. And there are some other things, Do you mind if the queens get traded in the opening? Or for you it's the end of the game because you simply cannot conceive a notion of playing chess without the queens on the board. It's just because it's not fun for you. Okay, if that's the case, and you really want the queens on the board, then in this Grunfeld, right? Don't play the Karpov and Kramnik line, where the queens get traded on d2. Okay, things like this. Alright, suppose you made a wise selection. Now, how far do you have to go? Now, let me give you an example. Let's take the Slav defense. Alright, and you wanna play the classical line with d takes c4. Now, you've done your homework, you studied this variation in its historical perspective, in its development. Starting with maybe games from the Alekan era. Alekan era World Championship match 1935. And then you looked at some games of Smyslov from the 1940s and the 1950s. He played it extremely well with black. Okay, fine. Now, what do we need to know now? We need to understand why white plays a4, because otherwise you go b5. No, well, but come on, you're 1800 player. It's a piece of cake for you. Now, it's somewhat more difficult is to realize why bishop f5 has to be played, particularly now, because you see grandmaster games over there when they play e6. And then, what's going on? White can play e4, or if they play e3, they play c5. Now this, what's going on? First c6, then c5. You're losing me, Kramnik. No, yeah. Because this is the next stage. You will get to this little later. Right now, you need your play in the opening has to be streamlined, and you have to follow the ideas without trying to mix them too much. You're simply not there yet with you 1800 or 1900. We're not gonna abandon the Slav setup and suddenly go into Queen's Gambit accepted. No. What's the main idea of the Slav? Is not to play e6 before your bishop is developed. The reason they started playing the Slav defense, because they want to move the bishop out. You have a great chance of doing this, so do it. Play bishop f5, which happens the main move. To be the main move. Alright, so additional chapter, the big one, would be to figure out what to do against knight e5. Now, I don't have time to cover them both, so let's see how far you need to go in the e3 line. We do this, and we do that. Now, how do we remember the opening moves? We remember the moves because we know why they played in the first place. Now, the move bishop b4 is played because we need to be able to eliminate this knight, because we're fighting against the move e4. We're gonna make white really sweat before he gets his pawn to e4. So therefore, bishop b4. Okay, great. Now, this is interesting. In what order? Do we castle first, and do we move the knight out to d7? There is some merit here in not castling, mainly because you expect white to go after this bishop. And then there are some variations where white is provoked to move his pawns off the king. And then black has interesting tactical possibilities in this situation. You see, you on that thing on c3, and you also your queen is on h5. That's the advantage of the move knight d7. But there is also a drawback in developing this knight before castling. Well, the drawback is here, so white plays this move. You know what, he really wants to go e4. Oh, castle e4. Now we need to eliminate this knight before we win the pawn, right? We do, but he has this in between capture. He's taking the other bishop, and now your bishop on c3 is hanging, and the pawn is hanging, and everything's falling apart. Well, it turns out that we needed to keep our bishop on g6. If the bishop was on g6, then e4, and now we have time to take, and then we have time to take. And then we enter all these moves in our chess base, and it shows us that this position has been reached 500 times, and white actually scored 68% here. Because they got this move bishop a3. Yeah, they played down the pawn, they even offer you to take the pawn on c3, but the main problem there that you don't get to castle. Alright, all these things, they need to be figured out. There is absolutely no way that you can master an opening, any opening, if you don't figure out those details. Now, how to figure them out? There used to be real chess books written on openings. Now they call them monographs. Monograph is nothing but a reference material. Stay away from those books. They're simply not going to be useful for you. They're clogged up with variations, and if there anything in words that you can find in this book, it's just some kind of a generic kind of, it's just the same drivel. So white is the position of advantage and black is seeking counterplay. And they have to explain things like this. Move orders, they have to be explained. Now, monographs, they structure everything this way. Best move, they always offer best moves. If they start looking at every alternative, then they're all going to get to the size of war and peace. So that's why sometimes they say, previously played was this, but and da. Now, the thing is that it's not how you study. You not study from worst to best, and you not study from best to worst when you're given a choice of moves in an opening position like this. You study it in the way it was played, in its historical perspective, in a way how the opening knowledge was developed. There are hardly any opening books written in this way. Practically none. And that's why people are having a hard time, getting the main ideas behind the moves, and that's why they butcher the move order time and again. Oh, this is the hardest part. Amazingly, this is the hardest part. It's not memorizing those moves, and it's not like whatever, getting through this jungle. The hardest part is to go slow through the opening moves leading to that, to those deeper positions with clear understanding of every step along the way. Okay. So we want a castle, but now comes this. And now we're gonna go bishop g6. You see, we got the best of both worlds, right? We moved our bishop away to g6 and we castled. So if he does this, we now laugh at him, right? Because we got that. And bishop a3 is just, it's nothing. Now black is a pawn ahead and his king is castled. Do you guys like that? If anybody is there, still struggling with the low volume on this thing, I hope you would appreciate what I'm showing. So now white switches to a different plan and they're gonna get the bishops. Okay. Probably in every opening, particularly when you're black, there is some kind of trade-off. Well, if white plays a certain way and keeps on playing like this for, I don't know, 20, 30, 70, 100 years, well, that means that he has something, some kind of normal opening advantage. After all, white does score some 55%, or whatever the stats are saying. So there is a built-in advantage for white. So when you play black and you choose your openings with black, you have to be ready to make some small concessions. Important thing for you is to understand why you're making them and have a plan laid out of how to deal with this. In this case, we're gonna give white the bishop pair. He already's got the center. What our plan is, we need to make sure that we play actively in the center. First question to you guys, if it goes e4, and he wants to go e5, and gain space, and chase the defending knight away from f6. There is only one good move in this position, right? Okay. So what's the right move? Well, this, of course. Well, there are targets all over the place. Now we want to get his bishop, so that's part of his proud bishop pair. We want to take this pawn. All the same, right? And if he protects the pawn like this, then we're gonna steal the other pawn. Okay, we protect it differently. We're still gonna do the same thing. We're gonna take here and then we're gonna steal the e4 pawn. It turns out that white is not ready to push the pawn forward. e5 would be the second best. I did this, I held this long pause, on purpose, right? Yeah, we're so trained to always answer e4 with e5. Maybe here it's not enough. I'm actually quite positive it's not enough. Because white will take, apply this important move, not allowing the queen to infiltrate, and then eventually he's looking to develop his initiative by moving the pawns forward. No, knight b6 is the move. So white prepares his e4 by playing first the rook to d1. Now, rook versus queen almost always trouble, so this is where we move the queen away. And now it appears a little bit of a threat there to win the pawn on c3. Yeah, white can sacrifice this pawn. There are numerous variations, but I would say this. This is about as far as you need to go. Now, if you can get this far, 12 moves, and you castled and you got your pieces out, and you know the ideas that you should use. e5 there or c5. Attack to white center. Then pretty much you're ready to play games with this opening. Now, of course, as you play a game, you analyze, and that's how you continue. But there is really no reason for you to go deeper before you finally say, okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna take the Slav defense with me to the tournament hall next time. You're ready to go. Well, the sacrifice here, of course, is possible, and we'll deal with that. Okay, we'll take. And yeah, we're gonna have to weather a storm here. But the rook is threatening to come to h3, and if the queen goes ahead of it, oh, but still it takes a few moves. Or maybe that. Try to stay active. Alright. Try it in your games. What else is there? Bishop d2 probably is most common move. One training game that I had, white went queen c2. You know why? This is a very typical idea. But for black, it's important to remember it's not only e5, it's also c5. And now it's the right time because the rook is coming to c8, and white is pretty awkward on the c file, put it this way. Very typical answer on d5, then you go knight b6 and hit that bishop. And now you have more pressure against the d pawn. Now this probably shouldn't be part of our talk because it goes beyond the opening, but I had the black pieces and I was worried about this, to be honest. I didn't want to take on c3. Now I must move my bishop to safety, and then after this, it's alarming. This is a strong unit there, of course, and if black doesn't want to self-pin, the king on the h file may get mated if the white gets the queen over. So I didn't like it, and I think this was better. And indeed, why not trade all these pieces and leave white with the underworld bishop on c1 and the stuck rook on a1? Black is already better. Just a simple three-step queen maneuver and constantly hitting this rook, and now black is winning the pawn on d5 and winning the game. Now, of course, white made some mistakes, but anyway. Whew. How many of lines variations like this you need to know for your opening repertoire to be in more or less decent shape? It's hard to come up with a number, but dozens, yeah. Certainly more than a dozen. Alright, so let me repeat how we do this. First of all, we don't start from buying, some 200 pages thick book, written by a guy you've never heard of before. International Master Husis, who, titles it How to Beat the Slav. And then you live through it, and it's like your eyes begin to glaze over because there are variations, moves. Now this book will come later, after you played your Slav defense or try to beat it already for a few years, and maybe when you get your rating up over 2000. No, you don't need that. Try to go start with the source. Find the games. You have your chess base, you can look back, and see, okay, well, when did this opening appear? You can always make a special database, move all the games from this line that you're interested in that database, and then you can sort it in any order, ascending or descending, and you will see. And you say, oh boy, like Lasker played it. Well, that's the place for you to start. I cannot turn up the volume. Well, once again, sorry guys. I'm really, like there is no volume there. There is no volume. I can't. I simply can't, This is a broadcasting software that it's supposed to, the microphone is supposed to pick up the sound and send it, and I don't have any problems with that when I broadcast on Twitch or live stream or Hitbox. It's just with broadcasting to YouTube, I don't know what they do, just don't allow me to do any adjustments to this. I apologize for this, but no, maybe they don't want people shouting. Who knows? Anyway, guys, I'm about to be done, so that was it. I have something to say to my listeners who are already in the expert territory. And they've done all that we talked about today. They know how to analyze their games, and they got their openings all lined up. And now, well, they need something to finally get over the hump and reach that coveted 2200 mark. Maybe I'll talk about this in 2 weeks from now. Technical problems, guys. I will try to fix it, the best way I can. But for now, well, sorry that you had to struggle through this whole thing. I know a lot of you particularly listening on mobile devices and with tiny sound and all that, but I tried my best, Anyway, thank you for your attention. This was Grandmaster Alex Yermolinsky. I see you guys again with my live show in 2 weeks, and hopefully in 2 weeks I'll be booming!